You believe you're conscious. But have you ever stopped to ask, what is consciousness really? Is it just your thoughts, your memories, your ability to perceive? Or is there something deeper, something that doesn't think but simply knows? Hermes Trismegistus once taught, all is mind. Carl Jung revealed that the unconscious will rule your life until you make it conscious. And modern science, especially quantum physics, has shown that reality changes the moment it is observed. So who then is the observer? What you're about to discover in this video might turn your entire perception inside out and reveal that you are not who you think you are. You are the one who perceives. Imagine that the reality you're living right now, this life, this body, this name, is just a scene in the movie of a consciousness that never began and will never end. This is the view of Hermeticism. In the Kybalion, it is written, "The all is mind, the universe is mental." But what does that really mean? It means that everything that exists, from the densest planet to the subtlest thought, was created, sustained, and projected within a single mind, the mind of the all. In the Corpus Hermeticum, Hermes Trismegistus teaches, nothing exists outside the all, and the all is intelligence, life, and consciousness. This universal consciousness is not something separate from you. It is within you, and you are within it. Your individual consciousness is a reflection, a spark of the divine consciousness that permeates all existence. That's why all consciousnesses are interconnected. Nothing you feel, think, or emit vibrationally is isolated. Everything resonates within the field of the all. And if the universe is mental, as Hermeticism teaches, then matter is not the foundation of reality. Thought is. Matter is an effect. Consciousness, the cause. The Kybalion states this with clarity. All that we see and touch is merely a creation of the mind of the all and shares in its substance. What does this mean for your life? It means that this existence you call yours is just a temporary role played by something far greater, an eternal consciousness, older than your story, your body, your name. You are not the character. You are the director watching the scene, and if you choose to, you can write a new ending. Your consciousness is not your ego, not the ID number they gave you. Your consciousness is older and far superior to the ego. It is part of the consciousness of the all. The core truth hidden in the Hermetic Laws and in the ancient knowledge of humanity. Carl Gustav Jung was more than one of the greatest psychiatrists in history. He was a true modern initiate, a man of science who dove deep into the mysteries of Hermeticism, alchemy, mythology, and ancient religions to understand the human soul. For Jung, consciousness wasn't just the part of the mind that thinks, decides, and perceives the now. It was a small point of light floating in a vast, dark ocean, an ocean called the unconscious. He once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." Imagine your mind as a house. What you see, remember, and understand. Your thoughts, desires, and memories live upstairs, where sunlight comes through the windows. But in the basement, locked and forgotten, live your fears, traumas, hidden desires, and deep truths that you don't want, or are not yet able, to face. That basement is the unconscious, and according to Jung, that is exactly where the key to your liberation lies. For him, true spiritual growth, the process of individuation, happens when consciousness begins to descend into the basement. When you dare to look at your shadows, speak with your inner monsters, and integrate what was once rejected. This process mirrors the ancient work of the alchemists, turning the lead of ignorance into the gold of inner wisdom. But even more profoundly, Jung knew that this unconscious was not only personal. He spoke of a collective unconscious, an invisible field where all human minds are connected. This idea is deeply aligned with the Hermetic Laws, just like the law of correspondence teaches, as above, so below, as within, so without. In other words, what happens in your mind reflects and influences all consciousness, and vice versa. So consciousness isn't just what you think, it's what you integrate. It's what you allow yourself to recognize as part of who you are. And the more you expand this perception, the closer you come to the universal mind, the same mind that Hermes Trismegistus called the owl. This expansion is the real power of the mind. It's how inner transformation begins and consciousness expansion becomes possible. For centuries, science insisted that matter was the only thing that truly existed. According to this materialist paradigm, consciousness was just a byproduct of the brain, like smoke rising from a machine. Meaning, no brain, no consciousness. But what if the opposite is true? What if the brain is merely an instrument and not the source? What if consciousness is the invisible field that gives rise to matter, time, and space itself? Today, science is beginning to admit that the old model no longer answers the deepest questions. In fact, one of the greatest physicists of the 20th century, Max Planck, declared, "I regard consciousness as fundamental. I regard matter as derivative from consciousness." This collapse of the materialist worldview became even clearer with quantum experiments like the famous double-slit experiment, where observation itself influences the behavior of particles. And in another striking experiment with random number generators conducted by Dr. Dean Radin, it was proven that human intention alone could alter statistical outcomes, a direct demonstration of the power of the mind. But what about death? If consciousness isn't created by the brain, does it vanish when the brain stops working? Many studies on near-death experiences, NDEs, suggest otherwise. People with no brain activity, declared clinically dead, returned with vivid, detailed, and life-changing accounts. They describe leaving their bodies, watching surgeries from above, and experiencing an indescribable expansion of awareness, as if they were more alive than ever before. Renowned physicians like Dr. Pim van Lommel and Dr. Bruce Grayson, from respected scientific institutions, have documented hundreds of these cases with astonishing consistency. And so, modern science is beginning to echo what Hermeticism has taught for millennia. Consciousness is not the result of life. It is life itself. It is not the effect. It is the origin. This understanding lies at the core of the Hermetic Laws, which state that consciousness precedes form and shapes reality. If consciousness does not begin with the body, it does not end with it either. It simply changes form, like a light passing through a new stained glass window. Quantum physics is now revealing what ancient knowledge has long preserved, that behind every atom, there is awareness, and where there is awareness, there is a doorway to infinite realities. After everything we've explored so far, what is consciousness really? Hermeticism teaches that consciousness is the mind of the all, the original field that creates and sustains everything that exists. And every individual consciousness, like yours, is a spark of this universal mind. Jungian psychology showed us that consciousness is the part of us that sees, and that true transformation happens when it dives into the unconscious, integrates the shadows, and awakens what once lay dormant. Modern science is slowly recognizing that consciousness is not a product of the brain, but something much greater, something prior and immortal, something that shapes reality and persists even when the body goes silent. Now, imagine this. You are an actor, a cosmic actor who, long ago, chose to play a role. This role has a name, an identity, memories, fears, desires, traumas, achievements. You know this role so well that you forgot you were acting. You forgot that you are not the character. You are the consciousness behind it. You believe you're John or Maria, or whatever name you answer to. But that's just the role of this lifetime. And like any role, it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. The problem is that the actor got lost in the play. He began to suffer with the character's pain, cling to the story, and fear the curtain call. But consciousness, the real you, was never born, and it will never die. It is the space between the lines, the silence between thoughts, the presence that observes all, without becoming any of it. When you remember this, something magical happens. You stop identifying with pain, fear, and ego, and you begin to live with greater presence, freedom, and creative power. Because the character reacts, but your consciousness co-creates, and that is the true path of consciousness expansion. Recognizing that you are not the script. You are the divine awareness writing every word. You spent your life believing you were the character, believing you were the name they gave you, the pain that marked you, the achievements that earned applause, and the fears that held you back. But now, perhaps a crack has opened. Perhaps you've felt, if only for a moment, that there's something behind all of it. Something that never changes. Something that watches in silence, even when everything seems to fall apart. That is consciousness. Not what you think, but what perceives the thoughts. Not what you feel, but what witnesses the feeling. That's who you are. The presence behind the name. The light behind the form. And from the moment you remember that, the chains begin to dissolve. Because the character suffers. But the awakened actor creates. If this message awakened something within you, like a forgotten memory returning home, like a fire rekindled deep in your soul, then like this video and subscribe to the channel. Here, each piece of content is a symbolic key, meant to unlock doors the world taught you to keep closed. And if you're ready to take the next step in your journey, I invite you to explore the ebook, The Key to Prosperity, a timeless, hermetic map for those who are tired of surviving and ready to live with real awareness. The link is in the pinned comment. Click on the video in the card, Double Slit and Mentalism. How consciousness collapses reality and creates your world, and explore the science that proves your mind shapes matter. And above all, remember, your journey is a return to the all, a return to yourself.